should preface this conversation with my senior year of high school for my government class. We're supposed to create a political party.
Okay.
So I created a political party named Party Hard.
Nice. That's great. I had a civics class where we learned about things like that, but we never got to create our own party. So thank you for including me in your education in that way.
Yeah.
Was the teacher okay? Were they?
I got an A in the class.
Yes.
So.
Very nice.
So that was really cool. I heard you were really into death metal in middle school.
Yeah, middle school, high school, still. Well, see, I was thinking about this actually yesterday because I sort of stopped. I found a few bands, and I stopped getting more bands. But every now and then I'll find out about a new band. But I wouldn't say like I'm on the scene. I never really was. I got into Obituary. I got into Napalm Death, and then a few bands over the years like Hatebreed or Full Blown Chaos. Mm-hmm. But really it was, and then there's black metal like Mayhem and Darkthrone. But really Obituary was the band that first, that did not die away. Like it didn't change. My feelings about it never changed. I still hear it, and I like it even more now than I did in middle school. It's amazing. But I have a very special relationship with that, and you always hope to find one or two bands every now and then that you can hold on to for your whole life, and I'm grateful to have those ones.
And you have a good relationship with the drummer.
Yes. Well, yeah, the whole band has been extremely kind to me, but Donald was the most kind. He joined my band. He built my band, actually. In fact,
really?
It all happened here on Sunset Boulevard at the Hyatt Hotel. It's always very special coming back here because the first time I ever met Donald was when he was coming to play on the record. And as I said, he brought together this whole incredible group of people, from the stage manager, the roadies, the sound guy, my bass player, my other guitar player, the other guitar player. They were all his friends. Mm-hmm. And so he just made this band. I met all the band members for the first time at our video shoot. Wow. I just had this very strong faith in Donald because, again, just meeting him, just talking to him was a dream come true, let alone playing with him in the band. So
how'd you meet him?
I wrote him a letter. I wrote him a letter in the mail and sent him my earliest recordings I was working on, and I had met a guy who grew up with him and had his address. So I said, well, do you think I could write him a letter? And it seemed very outlandish to me that he would answer, or even more outlandish that he would want to play in my band, but there was nothing I had to lose. And I also just wanted to tell him I loved his drumming so much. He's my favorite drummer. And he called me, I think within the same day he got the letter, and that was the first time I really saw a dream coming true where I took initiative to make it come true, even when it seemed ridiculous, even when it seemed impossible and like it would never happen. But there was some part of me that believed, obviously, that it was possible, and then when it did happen, it gives you that confidence. Well, maybe other dreams that I have could come true in this way. But that was really one of those first times when I just could not believe what was happening. I was so excited.
When you got the call from him, when you got the letter, what were your feelings?
I mean, I was intimidated a little bit. Was this guy going to be nice? Was he calling to make fun of me? Was this serious? Was this one of my friends playing a joke on me? But it became very clear that he was sincere and that he appreciated the music, and he appreciated me asking him if he wanted to play. I mean, I did have a lot to offer him at that point because we already were signed, the record was already being made. It wasn't like I was asking for his help. It was more inviting him to do what he does really well, which is play drums, and he's good at running a band. So I learned so much from him. I'm so endlessly grateful to Donald and all the members of my band, still to this day, and the ones from the very beginning, all the people that worked with me all throughout, because I started doing this by myself, but I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted to be able to take it out there and realize that that by working with other people I could do more than just what I could do myself, and what those people have given to me, and mostly to this music, is just is priceless.
Mm-hmm. I know you've been a musician pretty much most of your life.
Yeah, since around age 5.
And then you moved to New York when you were 17 or 18?
18, right after high school. Actually, I graduated a year early from high school because I really wanted to be done with school. Mm-hmm. But I was still thinking maybe I would go to college. I hadn't decided yet if I was going to move to New York. I thought about going to Chicago. I got accepted to an art school there. But then the idea of going back into that routine, that curriculum of school, it made me feel sick. So I could tell that was some part of me telling me not to do it. Even though it was kind of scary because I wasn't sure what I was going to go do, especially in New York. But I decided to move there. I set up a bunch of different jobs and kind of internships. And that got me going, but most of those fell apart within a couple months, and I worked a bunch of odd jobs before even deciding exactly what I was going to do. But I then realized that if I did music there, I could explore all my other interests through performing in rock and roll music.
What was your first year like, and what were some of the odd jobs?
Well, the first year I didn't have my own place, so I was staying in the living room of a very good friend of mine who I hadn't even met then. He was a person from Michigan who was friends with another friend, and this friend of another friend asked if, would you let my friend Andrew stay in your living room? And at the time I didn't think much about it, but I really drove them crazy. Because I would do things like clean up their house, and I was thinking, oh, I'm being so nice, I'm cleaning up his house. But I didn't realize that they've lived here for a long time, and they have things ordered for a certain reason. I just come in for one day and gonna clean their place up. So I was young-minded in ways that were irritating as far as being roommates, but also I think we hit it off and we became very, very good close friends. And his name is Mark Morgan, and he's in a band called Citing. He's an incredible guitarist, performer, and vocalist in this rock band Sightings, and I've worked with them. So that was the first friend I met in New York. And I was supposed to only stay in his living room. I was sleeping on a cot, on a very small cot, and I'm just trying to remember, I think I had a dream last night about sleeping on a cot, and remembering, oh, I haven't slept on a cot like this since when I was living in Brooklyn at my friend Mark's house.
Wow.
Anyway, it was a very small army cot. I stayed there in their house for about 3 months instead of just a couple days or weeks, and eventually I found my own place and moved out. Jobs at that time, I was trying to get a job as a piano player in a bar, but I did terribly at the audition. I didn't know I wasn't aware you had to be completely experienced and have this vast knowledge of songs, of pop songs. You're supposed to be able to go in there and someone says, okay, play Elton John, Rocket Man, play all kinds of different songs, and have them memorized. I had no idea, so I learned about that, and then I tried to get a job in an art gallery. I worked selling opera tickets. I worked selling vending machines. I worked in a department store. I worked at a avant-garde clothing company, Japanese company called Comme des Garçons, for a little bit. That was really wild, but those were all jobs. I mean, I enjoyed them, some of them more than others, but there was always, that's what I was doing so that in my free time I could do what I really wanted to do. And eventually, I didn't have to have one of those jobs I didn't like anymore, and I just got to do what I like to do all the time, and that's just the greatest gift to be able to, greatest blessing.
I heard a rumor you sold bubblegum machines?
Yeah, exactly, vending machines. That was one of the longer jobs I had. That was probably the best job I had and made the most money.
Really?
But it's not something I'm proud of, because it's a traditional business opportunity where the business wasn't always operated on the up and up, and that's something that I'll never do again as far as business goes, just in general. I learned a lot of ethics from that job, but at that time in my life I was stealing a lot and doing a lot of things that I wouldn't do now and never would do again. And I learned from them, and I had karma and things pay me back in different ways and taught me lessons. But the real fun of that job was, like so many of these jobs, it was a job I only could have in New York. It was a job that only would be like this because you're having this job in New York City. So even in working at McDonald's in New York is an amazing experience because you're in New York City. Everything's more intense. So I did enjoy every one of these jobs, no matter how sick I felt when I would wake up in the morning to go into it, or how much I'd rather be doing something else. Looking back, any time spent in New York is invaluable.
You mentioned that you were stealing things.
Yeah, lots of money.
What changed your life? What motivated you?
To stop stealing? Well, I got mugged. That was sort of the real easy wake-up call. I thought, I don't like it when people take my money, especially when they have a knife. Now, I never stole from people like that. This was just embezzling money and business scams and just lots and lots of scams and fraud and things like that. So it was all white-collar in that way. It wasn't violent. But it's the same at the end of the day. And when I was mugged in Manhattan, it was just in the afternoon coming out of the subway. The guy was waiting in the hallway in the subway, and it just was crazy that it happened, because at any point someone else could have walked up and seen this going on. It was just in the afternoon. Sun was out, beautiful day, and I didn't have that much. Well, at that time I had maybe $200 on me because I just cashed my paycheck from work. I was on my way to work. He took my watch, he took my Metro card, my subway card, and he didn't take a lot of my other stuff in my wallet, which was interesting. And anyway, so then he said, okay, now you're going to walk away, and if you look back, I'm going to kill you. And I walked away. The whole thing seemed like a dance. It seemed like a routine. Like, he says this, then I say this. He asks for my money, I give him the money. It didn't ever seem in the moment that he would ever hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why I felt like that, but now looking back, or even the next day looking back, it was very obvious that if he had wanted to, he could have stabbed me or sliced my face or done whatever he wanted and taken the stuff. So that was a great wake-up call, and I swore from that moment on I would never take anything that wasn't mine. And I never have since. It was very easy. But really, what made the difference, not just with stealing, but with wanting to be what I would think of as a better person, was my mom and my dad thinking about, they taught me all these same things like parents teach their kids, but you don't necessarily internalize them or believe in them yourself. And eventually I realized that I didn't want to just be good so my mom would be proud of me or so that she wouldn't be mad at me. I wanted to be good because these were things I believed in. And that was a gradual experience, I guess between ages of 18 and 19. I just realized that I had done so many bad things, or things I considered bad, and had made so many other people unhappy that I had to find a new way to be. And that's when I started doing Interviewing King. And my parents thought, I thought you were done with this kind of phase. What is it that makes you do this? I said, I don't know. I just wanted to cause trouble or just do this. And they had me go see a child psychologist again. And we went through many sessions, and I didn't really like him at first, but I grew to like him all right. And we had some fun. And then by the end, he said, well, I think we've met enough times now. I have my diagnosis of what I think is going on with you, and I'll be happy to tell you. I think it will help you. And he said, you have a devilish side.
That's what he said?
Yeah. And I said, well, okay, and he said, no, that's my diagnosis. You have a devilish side. I said, well, what is that? That's not a diagnosis. My parents could have told you that. And what am I supposed to do? And he said, I don't know. You'll have to figure that out. But I thought that was very intense because no one had ever told me that I had an evil side. And he really meant it like that. And I thought that was just very helpful in one way, but also kind of troubling. And I don't know if I really ever want to believe that. I think we all have many different sides inside. But there are parts of me that I don't know how to control other than to let them out. And so now I just try to direct them towards things that make people happy rather than sad.
Mm-hmm. Well, while you were in New York, at what point did things start picking up, or did you feel things were really taking off for you?
Well, I lived there, the first 2 years I was there, 18 to 20, I didn't really do much. I hadn't only met a couple people. I didn't have a lot of friends there. I was spending most of my time at home alone, working on paintings a lot at that point, but some music as well, and trying to figure out what my move was going to be. And that's, as I said, around the 19 towards 20 is when I thought, I want to take all these different feelings and all these different ideals and all these different kinds of excitement and put them into this rock and roll music, and I want to think of what the best and coolest person would do and how they would live their life and then try to do that. And once I had that vision, then everything just started happening. I mean, before that, it seemed like because I didn't know what I wanted, then no one knew how to, the world didn't know how to help me get what I wanted. Once I had a clear idea of what I wanted, then the world responded. And it just unfolded very quickly. I met a person who helped me get my CD to another person, and that person got it to my first manager, and then she helped me meet this other guy who ended up being my manager, and he got the record deal with me, and then it just unfolds. The one thing I can say in terms of tactics is I said yes to everything. And I never waited, like, well, I want to wait 6 months once I get this CD perfect. I was all about embracing every opportunity that came up, especially opportunities that I didn't think were necessarily good ones, or could be scary, or could be awkward. There was something that told me that you just gotta go. You just gotta say yes. And when I got my record deal, I didn't go and shop around a bunch of different offers. I just said, okay, let's do it. And that momentum is what I think was really crucial for me.
How did you become a motivational speaker?
Well, that really was by invitation. NYU, New York University, asked me to do this lecture in 2005, and I'd never really done anything like that. I was so blown away that this prestigious school would invite me to talk that I had to do it. But I asked them what they wanted me to talk about. I figured it would be about the music business or something with my career, very literally. And they said, no, we just want you to do whatever you want to do. And that's what ultimately inspired me and grasped me, was this idea that there was going to be no songs played necessarily. There's going to be no particular topics discussed. I could just go on the stage and just exist, just be there, and whatever I do is going to be what happens. That it was this idea of totally free performance, just totally spontaneous, free-form performance. And then I try, like with all that stuff I do, I want it to ultimately make people feel excited and raise them up. And I want to use all these different tools, music, talking, TV, interviews like this, to get that feeling of excitement across so people think about their lives and have fun. I mean, there's so many ways to do it. And the speeches, the motivational speeches, people seem to leave those, from my experience, they leave with the same kind of high after they would see a concert. They're certainly different. They're apples and oranges, but they both have their value.
What was the response to that NYU lecture?
Again, I mean, I was envisioning sort of a classroom type, maybe 50 people, with me at the front, and they ended up moving it to bigger and bigger venues as it approached, and it ended up being at the Skirball Center, which is a beautiful 900-seat auditorium. It was completely packed. It went for 4 hours. I never could have anticipated it. I was really moved, but I really think it's the audience that makes those kinds of shows what they are. It's very interactive, so it's just that feeling of a lot of people here want to be pumped up. A lot of people here are feeling like I am, where we want to have the most fun possible, and we believe that we can have fun a lot of the time. And once we started talking about these ideas, it was just like a big conversation.
After that particular lecture, were you just invited to other schools to?
Yes. Well, we made it. I said that I want to do more of these. So then I told my booking agents, and they put the word out there. And I think, once the colleges heard that I was available to do it, they started asking too. But I did a lot of lectures not at colleges as well. We rented out the Unitarian Church in Philadelphia years ago. Well, I guess like 3 years ago. That one was a huge one. I did a series of smaller ones in New York City where we do it every night, like 3 nights in a row. I've done them now at other colleges like Yale. That was one of the more intense ones. And each time they change. Now I've been doing speeches at CMJ, at this music conference in Oklahoma called D-Fest. And I want to just get better and better at doing it, but I still go in without any plan, and unless they've asked me to talk about something specific, I try to do it all off the top of my head.
Well, you have a lot of things going on right now. You have a double disc coming out?
Yes. Oh, I do, and I have something to show you here.
Okay.
I brought a copy of the other album here. Pardon me. So this is an artist named Alistair X, and this is his debut EP called Bangers and Beans. Mm-hmm. This is the promotional CD copy. It came out on 12-inch vinyl for the dance clubs, because his music is very danceable. And this is on the record label that I started in London called Skyscraper Music Maker. I put out my first ever solo piano album in September, a couple months ago. And that was the first release, but this is the first release of an artist other than myself, an artist that I signed to the label. And I'm just very excited to be working with this guy. He really changed my life when I first heard his music and got to meet him. And it's a very different vibe in some ways, but we really hit it off and could relate to each other quite a bit. Oh,